During the French retreat, the winter became worse to the point of starvation. The Russian army cut all supply lines to the Grand Army, and by December, over 370,000 troops had died, while another 200,000 became prisoners of war.
Napoleon abandoned his troops and fled back to Paris. His troops were largely stranded in Poland and continued to die off through the years. When he returned to Paris, Napoleon began raising a new army. Only 22,000 of Napoleon's men survived the Russian campaign.
Who was once a fearless and powerful ruler, quickly became a defeated general, a footnote on the former success of France. However, once Napoleon returned to Paris, the townsfolk rejoiced at his arrival rather than show their displeasure for Napoleon's loss in Russia. Soon, Napoleon rose yet another army to combat Britain and Russia, but the opposing alliance was growing stronger.
After the Russian campaign in 1813, the foreign minister of Austria, Clemens von Metternich, offered Napoleon a treaty in which case France would be reduced in size, but Napoleon would still be in power. Napoleon, wanting more land, obviously declined the treaty, and at that time, both Austria and Prussia abandoned the side of France and decided to go ahead and join Britain and Russia, in which case a new coalition was formed.
Along with Sweden, these countries formed the Fourth Coalition. Before long, all of Napoleon's enemies were gathering up and would attack him at full force.
Napoleon entered Germany in April of 1813, hoping to end this conflict once and for all. Napoleon gathered 400,000 troops, along with 250,000 troops from the German states, hoping to combat this new coalition.
The war would continue on in Germany. Napoleon quickly gained the upper hand with victories at Lutzen and Botzen during May. In August, two armies from the Austrians joined the Allies, raising their total to 800,000 troops, with still 350,000 more in reserve.
As the coalition gained forces, so did Napoleon. Small countries such as Saxony, Naples, and Bavaria gave troops to Napoleon. However, Napoleon's troops were still outmanned 9 to 10, and the Germans on Napoleon's side were undependable and couldn't be trusted.
Although Napoleon continued to defeat the Allies in August at Dresden, his marshals still lost constantly and they were forced to retreat. The Allies followed them back into Saxony, where the Battle of Leipzig, or better known as the Battle of Nations, took place in mid-October. The French were outnumbered nearly 2 to 1, but still fought for 4 days.
Napoleon had no chance of victory after his defeat at Dresden. He just hoped that the Allies would go back and plan a new strategy. Soon, after his defeat at Saxony, the war would move and finish where it had all started, France.
Napoleon decided to take a final stand against the Allies during the Arcus thereof. By that time, the Allies had 500,000 troops in France, while Napoleon couldn't even muster an army of over 70,000.
During all of this, the Allied leaders were in Shermont discussing a way to stop Napoleon. As a result, they created the Treaty of Shermont on March 9, 1814. This treaty made the Quadruple Alliance mainly represented by Britain, Russia, Prussia, and Austria. The treaty also stated that the alliance would last 20 years after Napoleon was defeated.
At the time of the treaty, Napoleon was struggling to win a battle. The Allies were pressing on and would soon reach Paris.
On March 30th, 1814, the Allies finally arrived at Paris during Napoleon's 6-day campaign. Napoleon was victorious in keeping his casualties to a low, but the Allied army just kept on moving forwards. On April 6th, Napoleon finally gave up to the Allies and signed the Treaty of Fontainebleau. This treaty stated that Napoleon would give up the title of Emperor of France and was given the small island of Elba. Not only that, but the Bourbon dynasty was restored with Louis XVIII. It would seem that Napoleon's empire had collapsed and the young ambitious ruler was finished. However, Napoleon had other plans. Join us next week for the 14th and final part of the Napoleonic Wars. For NTV, I'm Art Vandelay.